Mustn't have agreed to the recording. Hopefully it's all recording. All good. Let's keep going. So the rules, they're real. If you followed any of the TPB webinars and things that have been happening, an agent got terminated for 3 years. They lodged 346 false returns. They didn't do any ID checks. These are the fraudsters that are out there. You know, someone got suspended for ignoring compromised ID warnings. Like, this is the whole point of why the IDs come out. Fraudsters do target transactions to lodge things. So yes, you know that. I'm sure you're aware a lot of fraudsters lodge via MyGov portal, and they've stole $500 million from the ATO. But they do also target tax agents and trying to get tax agents to lodge returns on your behalf. So just be aware that the whole point of ID checks is to cover yourselves. So why are firms struggling with it? Because IDs, some firms are still doing ID checks over email. It is not secure. You shouldn't be sending any sensitive documents over email. We should be aware of that already. You know, sometimes you don't know if they are who they say they are. Fraudsters do have amazing abilities to fake IDs. I'm sure you've seen all of the AI effects now that people can do of creating fake documents. It's really not that hard anymore. How do you chase that proof of authority and identity for spouses, directors, and things like that? Seamlss can help with that. App 11 says don't store ID documents. Did put in a link to app 11 in the email, and that's just around the security of keeping things secure. So, you know, yep, let's have some real automation, but make sure that you're not breaching any of the tacit code parts around item 1, honesty, integrity. These are all common things for accountants. We want to be confidential, keep it all secure, make sure it's secure in delivery, and you're taking some reasonable care. And that's the whole point of Seamlss, is to tick all those boxes and keep compliant with your quality assurance systems and make sure you're limiting any exposure that you might be having. So, you know, if you're not some sort of process to automate this and you're not systemizing it, what are you really doing? So yes, we can do ID checks in person. I find that's very intimidating for some clients. You're sitting there in front of them in the desk and it's like, you need ID to get in here. It can be quite confronting. Maybe they don't have their ID on them when they come visit you. If they're acting on an authority, how are you going to do that? How are you going to collect that authorization? And then whether you need to follow it up. So if the ID check comes back as invalid, what are you going to do? If you've got suspicions about something being a bit dodgy, what are your options? Some platforms don't really have any other options. With Seamlss, we do have some other options in order to do that with source documents from the beginning. We obviously integrate with XPM, can generate engagements and assist with your compliance for the TPB. So Seamlss. Yes, we make your processes seamless. We onboard, verify, data collection, and engage and re-engage your clients. And that is what Seamlss is all about. Fingers crossed, today's demo goes really smoothly. I love ID checks. It's never easy and it never goes smoothly, but fingers crossed. I did test this earlier, so I do have an example one just in case. So for today's session, let's add our new client. So if we're onboarding Clayton, here's our new client. I'm going to do an ID check. ID check on Clayton, and I'm putting his phone number. Done. Today I'm not going to do any entity. I'm just going to do an ID check. So we recommend having your bank details on. If you don't have bank details on, as a part of the ATO requirements, if you click on this link here in Seamlss, it'll go through what is required. So the minimum requirements, there is a visual method, so you can do that in person. There's a source method, comparing documents that they give you against ATO documents. Then there's a DVS option. So the DVS option is Stripe identity. That's the idea with Stripe. So what does that look like? What do you need to do? There's a combination of methods. So this is table 2, and this is the confusing part. So you can do it visual in person, visual with source documents. You can do visual with source and DVS, or you do ATO source and DVS. So minimum of 2 identity verification information against the ATO, along with a DVS. So this is the recommended version that you use with Seamlss. So you can see here the identity with source. So you're kind of asking for source documents from the ATO, and you'd have to get a couple. And utilizing bank details and TFN is one of them. If you hover over this little information button here, this is what we're talking about, the DVS combined with the TFM, the bank details are suitable for identity verification against the ATO. So that is ticking this box here. So it's not just a matter of going, oh, I got a green tick from my provider, I'm all good. You need to verify this data against the ATO. That's exactly what it is showing here in table 2. And I wanted to make that really obvious and really easy to link to, and that's why it's here inside Seamlss. You can put additional requests inside Seamlss, and you might say send us your passport if you know there's specific nuances with the client. For today's demo, I'm not going to do any forms, I'm not going to do any ITRs. I will skip the engagement letter signing for today. We're just going to focus on ID checks. So I'm going to add the client, send that off. So that's sent the request. I will switch into my browser here. You can see that I've got the request. Here is the client. He's got an email. I just got the email on my phone as well. So I'm going to start the request, get the code, I'm going to log in securely. I am logging in as a client. Client logs in. Then they're going to key some details in. Mr. Clayton Wood. This is just for example details today. With my address. So obviously the idea would be that you are checking this stuff as they onboard against the ATO and as what they're giving you to see if it really does make sense. Because if something doesn't make sense, it's kind of a bit of a red flag to say that something's not adding up. So I'm going to save that. And now here I am with my ID check. Because it's Stripe, most clients will be doing it on their phone. Hopefully you can see my phone here. But I'm doing a bit of a combination today. Here's my Stripe identity check. I agree and I continue. I'm going to just scan that. Just going to bring it up on my phone. Scan the QR code. You can see here, hopefully, it's loading up. It's going to ask me about doing Stripe identity. I am ready. Now it's just going to scan my license. I've got a copy of my license here. This is obviously not an exact license because I'm in a demo. I'm not going to give away my real details. It's just asking me to hold it steady. It's accepted my license. That was the front of the ID. This is a part of the process that the client will go through. Clearly didn't like it because it's not a real license. So we'll go through. Come on. All right, so we've got the front. Let's go for the back. Still just processing, just so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to submit the photo. Then we're going to take the back. Here's the back. It's exciting stuff. Usually, obviously, the clients have their license ready to go. It'll suck it in pretty quickly. Now, once it's done the sucking in the ID information, it'll say submit photo. I've submitted the photo. Hopefully everyone can see this okay. I know it's not going to be easy, but I just want you to get the idea. Now it's going to take a photo of me. So it's going to take a photo of me for likeness. So I just put some information in there. What it's doing now is doing the biometrics on my face to see if it matches the ID. That's a part of the biometric check. It is included with Seamlss. Yes, we charge an additional $5 for the Stripe ID check, but the idea with that is it also includes the biometric check. So my verification is done. So it's done on my phone. It's now done on the computer. Most clients do it on the phone. So it just flows through. They keep entering the details on their phone. That's how most people operate. Today's demo, I'm going to finish it on the computer though. So now we're added the client. We're done. Client is onboarded. Done their ID check. Excellent. Come back into the Seamlss area. And on the dashboard here, see down here it says action request. Clayton's onboarded as a client. Here's the client onboarded. I'm going to mark it as done. I'm going to view the client. As the admin team member, I'm going to do the ID check. So here's my identity verification. It's currently being processed by Stripe. So this is when it was done. You can review the ID check. Here is my license. Here is my back of my license. And here's my biometric photo. I think my eyes are nearly closed. Good idea there. The document at the moment is saying is invalid, which it should, because they're clearly dodgy looking licenses. If it was invalid, you obviously wouldn't mark it as verified. You would ask for more documents. Today's session, I'm just going to say, this is verified. I'm going to go into the, log onto the HEO portal, add them to the portal, check their bank details. We can see that their bank details match the details entered inside Seamlss. We've added them to the portal using their TFN so that we know that we've got the two valid source identity documents, as we talked about here, the source requirement of the HEO. So this is that step that I'm talking about as you move through it. So we've added them, we're comfortable, it looks good. What did they send in? So there could be no assessment, could be direct BAS statement, HEO correspondence, things like that you can check against the HEO. How did they send it in? Was it in person? Was it a combination electronically? We're using Seamlss, it's electronic, and we're going to delete the document. Now, we talked about that App 11 part, deleting the document. So for cybersecurity purposes, I recommend that you delete the documents. We delete the documents. We don't hold them for longer than 7 days. You've only got 7 days to action the request. I'm going to mark that as verified, and then the client's details are in there, and I'm good and I'm happy, and I'm going to progress that. From here, I would push the client into XPM and continue on adding them as a client. Now, in today's session, I'm going to switch across to one I prepared earlier, not that one, ID check. You can see here, Clayton had his ID, and we review it, and it's come back as unverified, and the document is invalid. This is one I prepared earlier. So this is where you would mark it off and go, I'm not happy with that. I'm going to request additional documentation. So I may check. Which one was it? This one. I'm logged in as this client, so I'll log out. Bear with me. There we go. So if this client, we receive something as a tax agent and we're like, something's a little bit off here. I've only dealt with this guy online. Something's not quite right. It's a bit dodgy. I just want to do one more check. So maybe what they sent you wasn't quite that good. Let's request additional documents. The beauty of Seamlss is you can do another Stripe request, or maybe you ask for additional documents. So please send your notice of assessment. You'll probably be a bit more descriptive than that. That will go through on the email, and now you've kind of asked the client for one more document. I'm logged in here, and you can see I've just got the client email. So I'm in the client screen. Here is the client request. View request, it's saying, hope you find you well. Please send your notice assessment. View the request. I'm going to log in again. My details in here. As the phone catches up. 33791. Enter. Here we are. The strike was done and completed. We've asked for another verification document. It's saying here are the different documents. Browse. I'm going to find my example notice assessment for today. Let's just say that this was the notice assessment. I'm going to continue on and upload it as the client. And I've finished that request. Now that's done. I'm just going to move that out of the way, come back as the firm. So the notification would have come to the admin team member. They're like, Clayton's done his ID check. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to confirm his ID request and click back on Clayton, and we're going to review what he sent. So we're going to review that document. So obviously, again, you're doing a bit of a source ID check. So you would be checking these details of the notice assessment. This is clearly not a notice assessment. There's an example. Check the notice assessment details against the HEO portal. See what they sent. So I've got a notice assessment. How did I get it? Electronically, and it was good, and I'm going to delete the document. That's the process done. So that's the key difference, is that if you're not sure, you're utilizing Seamlss to ask more questions. So other things you could be asking for, were those things that I talked about before, such as an authority to act on. So if they're acting on behalf of someone else, you could ask for those documents and proof of documents. Other items that you might want to keep secure for identity checking through Seamlss. There will be more updates with Seamlss coming in the coming year in regards to AML and compliance around that and those changes. But for now, we're focused on ID checks and making that really easy for firms to check that box, and there's more to come in the future. But that was one way to do an ID check on a client. There is another way within Seamlss to make it just as easy, and that is with client links. So we've talked about client links in other areas. You can have the client link in other places within your firm, e.g. QR code, email, website, wherever you want. So in this case, we've got the client ID check here, and we've got the client smart link. So I am just going to sign out of my other browser there, just so I can get this ready. I'm going to copy this link, paste it into my other browser. So this is what it looks like. The client might have gone from your website, landed on the Seamlss client webpage, and we're going to need that information. 1 second. Back here. Sorry, just organizing myself. Right, so I'm going to log in as Clayton Wood because I've asked for more documents. Submit. So now the request has been sent to the client. The email will come through. Not sure what happened there. Why did that do that? Should have logged me in, Daniel. Tech always works when you want it to work. Do I have a... Maybe it's because I've already done it. The idea was that you'll be able to connect on that link. So we can do another one. That is fine. Client ID check. Let's open it incognito. So if I put Seamlss Clayton. Sorry, give me 1 second just so I can work this system. It is live, obviously with clients. You need a unique email and a unique phone number, so I'm just getting a unique email and a unique phone number to make sure this all works. So I'm going to submit that. If I was your new client, I'm going to put in my details here. Some fake details, submit it, and then we're going to complete the form. So I will get an email here, and then I'm going to log in, get the code, securely log in as the client. Obviously, they would normally be doing all this on their phone. Bank's going to key his details in, same as before. We do need all these details to verify someone. So we just talked about this before, that you want their information so that you can verify their tax file number. So yes, you could do a DVS only. Don't know why you would, but you definitely could. But you technically need more information. So regardless, you need some of their tax file number and bank details in order to do the verification. So we collect that along the way. Here is the Stripe identity. So we've gone from the smart link to an ID check without any admin, anyone sending any requests. So if the smart link was on your website, sent via email or anything like that, the client can just start the process. This is the same process as we just went through. I'm not going to do it again. The idea was you get the idea that the client has gone from a Seamlss smart link to an ID check. Once they've completed the ID check, you'll be able to do the same thing, check their ID and mark them off as done. probably gone pretty fast there and maybe a bit confusing. Has anyone got any questions? A few questions in there. Okay, so, oops. AI assistance. Below the ATO guidelines shown in the verification methods under the source identity method states that via the TFN, date of birth, and then for two items of pieces of information. Yes. So are you 100% added them with the TFN and bank details meet this requirement? Well, that's what it says on the ATO portal, and that's what the webinars and stuff have indicated from everything that I've read and read it multiple times over. Happy for you to email me anything that states differently, but that is what it says as the requirement on the portal, on that link that I sent. So this link here, when you add a client, it steps through the different items that you can verify someone against. So if we go down here a bit further, here are all the different source method information items that you can utilize, taken from the ATO website. So this is not my website. We are on the ATO live website right now. When is it updated? February. So that's as of now. A report to provide a list of those clients that haven't been verified. Not yet, Wayne. We are working on that, but I think, how many people are you onboarding that you haven't verified? Hopefully nobody. I think the other key thing is that going forward, you will need to start verifying new clients. We are updating the dashboard on Seamlss, so there will be the ability to interact with the dashboard a bit different ways, and that will be one of the options, is to search for clients that are not verified.
Yeah, you there, Clayton?
Yes.
I instead of typing it out, I thought I'd jump on.
Sure.
Yeah, it's more our existing clients that I'm thinking of in that respect.
Yes.
And just following up. So I'm assuming we just follow the same procedures as you went through, but we just don't upload them to XPM because they'd already be in XPM. But yes, we also, I guess we've got to go through FPM now to find out which ones are verified and which ones aren't. Or alternatively, just do them all again.
So the ATO put out statements in the past where you don't have to re-verify your clients from past clients unless you think something suspicious is going on. And I believe around the AML requirements going forward, as a part of that process, high-risk individuals will need to be verified and their entities and things like that as an ongoing basis. But for now, technically, you don't have to verify your clients, your current clients, unless you think there's a reason to.
I thought you did, actually. I thought we had to verify everyone.
Unless the rules have changed, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. No, I'll bow to your superior knowledge as per usual.
When this first rolled out, they said, no, you don't have to verify your past clients. But if you did want to verify and you're like, oh, something's a bit odd, you can go into the client. We do have the verification tick here that's indicating that the client is verified.
Okay.
But if you had someone that is a client that is an XPM and you're like, oh, just need a quick verification on this person, I've only dealt with them online. Something's just a bit fishy at the moment. I'm going to ask for some verification. You can request another Stripe identity. You can do a visual and say, hey, send me something from the ATO. Just depends on how you want to verify that person, Wayne. This would allow you to do a few different methods within Seamlss. Does that help answer?
Yep.
So question though, if we're building out the dashboard to review who's not been verified, would you want to be able to send all of them a verification or send them one by one?
I don't know the answer. Off the top of my head, I would probably say one by one.
Yeah. But just a way to view them, I guess, is key part. So I'll make notes of that from today's session and talk to Daniel and see whether we can whip that up as a part of the new dashboard rollout. Hopefully for Jessica Kirk, you've asked about representative non-personal entities and trusts. That's the same principle of what I was saying before. If Clayton was the director of a non-for-profit, you could send him a request and utilize the source option and say, can you please send a letter, a recommendation, something that shows that you are acting on behalf of that non-for-profit, and request that document through the source document request method. And that's the ability to get different information, especially difficult because they're acting on behalf of an organization, and you typically can't add that individual to your portal. So how are you going to verify them? Makes it difficult. I would suggest DVS and a source document. So the DVS will do the biometrics and check that they are who they say they are, and some of the source document might be send me some BAS data or something that going to verify that they are a part of that organization to verify them. I don't have any direct do this item on that. One of the key things that you'll notice if you keep in this area with the ATO that I've found is they don't say anything specific. This equals that equals that equals done. If you read through it, your requirement is to be reasonably sure they are who they say they are. If you're not sure, that's the beauty of Seamlss. You can ask for additional documents. If you get the green tick and you're happy with that, and then you move on, done. If Stripe is doing that check and you're happy that that's enough and that you're sure they are who they say they are, then your job is effectively done and you are happy and you are reasonably sure they are who they say they are. If your team is looking at it going, something's just not right here, this person's only interacting with anything online, the documents they've sent just seem a bit weird, their name or something's just not quite adding up, that's a great red flag to use this button to request additional information. Does that help explain that space a little bit better to people, and the option that Seamlss gives you different options in that regard? Have you got any other questions? I think the rest is AI, just AI. Excellent. So there's a few different ways you can onboard and engage clients and do their ID checks. So just quickly run through them again. You can add a client, so put in their details and then select the identity method. So I didn't touch on it, but you can do none. I don't know why you would. You can do it manually, which means you might have done it in person. So you might be able, you select manual and then you'll be able to select you did it in person. And then obviously you've got the other option. Now I will just turn off the settings here. So we added some settings in Seamlss recently in here. So you can mark bank details as required or not required. I'm going to just turn that off. Not required, should be not required now. I'll save that. Add client. Right, so bank details are marked as not required. So now you can have a look on here and you can see there's actually an extra option. So where you're asking for additional information. So because you haven't got bank details required, we're now asking for more information for you. Because bank details are one of the options you can use to verify the client, that's why you've now got to ask for extra documents. So we're now doing a Stripe plus a source, because for you to fulfill the requirements as per table 2 on this page, it says you need 2 source documents. You haven't asked for bank details. Yes, the client might fill them in, but they might not. You mark them as not required. So Seamlss is guiding you to that part of getting additional documentation to pass your source requirement, getting those documents from the ATO. In the settings, we did just change this up, so you can skip different things here. So I do recommend, though, that you do have bank details as required for individuals. I personally have it required for entities as well, because if you're going to put anything on the front cover of a tax return, it's going to be bank details. But I do understand there's some advisory firms out there that don't want bank details, so they mark it as not required. Some people don't. They also want director ID as required. And then same as place of birth. You can hide place of birth. Some firms didn't want that. I love it. When I create an entity, if the client's already on Seamlss, they probably already filled out their place of birth. And when I'm creating a company, super handy to have. So I do recommend having individuals' bank details as required. If I save that setting, if I go back and add the clients, you'll now see again that we've only got the one source requirement because we are getting the bank details. Hopefully that cleared most of that up for everybody. Now I've just got to find my webinar bit here. So moving through to the next part. What's the cost of getting it wrong? And I think that's the key aspect. That what are you really risking? Like, is it going through email, which is super not secure? You're tracking it through spreadsheets. on XPM. So a lot of people have asked about putting it in XPM. I do all mine in Seamlss and I leave them in Seamlss. You can export all of the ID checks in Seamlss. Hopefully XPM will update their API and we can push it into XPM without creating junk. We are looking at rolling out some other additional certificates and things in the future to improve where the data flows for ID checks. But I think the whole point of Seamlss gives you that you get an audit trail. So if you're not using a tool like Seamlss, do you have an audit trail of what you've done, who you've asked, when it was asked, and who verified them? We don't store ID documents. It's risky. It's not best practice. It's not the best security options if you are storing them. Unfortunately, I am aware that financial planners do need ID documents from time to time, and they are required to store them. I don't understand why it's different, but for all the accounting firms out there, you're not required to keep it. I don't recommend you keep it at all. Keep it off your systems as well. It goes beyond compliance as well. I think that's the key aspect. Like with Seamlss, you can go from having them as a lead, adding them as a client, and then engaging them and doing all the ID check within one app and in one place, from individuals to entities, pushing them to XPM, and then flowing that data on to things like FY and SharePoint. Build it once, deploy it many times. So things like utilizing the client links, the smart links will allow you to go through that process. If you need some help implementing Seamlss, we do have VIP onboarding with training. Set up different templates and configurations for your firm. We'll go through the first client workflows. We'll do some team training in the second session as well. There'll be get the full workflow for the practice to go from end to end. That is one of the options. You can definitely scan that link, share it on the email and the recording after this. If there's any more questions, don't be shy. Please jump on. I don't think there is any more questions. The biggest thing I want you to take away from today: takes 20 years to build a reputation, 5 minutes to ruin it. Everyone's aware of that. If things go wrong in your cyber area, it won't end well with client and reputation. It's not good. It's not easy to come back from. So I'm sure everyone's aware. Make sure you do the right things where possible. I don't know that I showed it. We'll just touch on it now though. When you are in with the client and adding them, and you are doing the verification, there is the help guide here. I did touch on it actually, I think. So it does step-by-step guide for the team to go through the process. So if your admin team isn't sure, there is the help guide. We do have the links everywhere throughout the app to help guide you through that. Begin seeking client permission, linking an ATM. So with Matthew's question there, getting the client permission, that is a part of the benefit of Seamlss. You can get the engagement letter signed and therefore get the permission to add them to the portal to check their TFN, ABN, date of birth and things like that. Verify 2 pieces of information, yes. Does that mean you need 2 ATO docs, not including TFN? Yes, that is exactly what it means. The TFN, you again, if you have your settings set up right, you should be getting the TFN marked as required here. So you can turn that off. We also have the bookkeeper's option to disable it. Obviously, bookkeepers don't need TFN, but if you're an accountant, I recommend TFN on as required. At the end of the day, you can't add them to the portal. You can't do anything. With the agent linking, if you're an accountant, you need to be adding them via the TFN to add them to the portal correctly. So hopefully that is one other aspect of the reason why you need the TFN. Hopefully that answers the question, Matthew. So yes, 3 steps there, done. Go through step 3 and the result of source method. What did you mean by step 3? This one here? The electronic authority, that's why we recommend the engagement letter. Yes, I skipped the engagement letter today, but I recommend getting it signed. I don't, I know that some firms use other apps for engagement letters and things like that, but I've never had a client not sign it twice. They never go, oh, I'm not signing that, because all it is your terms and conditions, which is probably the same terms and conditions on a website, much the same as they scroll through Apple's terms and conditions and agree to them. Has anybody got any other questions? We can wrap it up. Stop the recording. I'll stop the recording. What are the other 2 things asked for? What are the other 2 ATO documents that asked for? Make a step. As per if you are, if I go in here, so if I'm in this Clayton, I do an ID check, request the documents. If I say source identity and I do the client request, so this is the other two ATO items that you can request. If I flip across and you go to the ID check, here is the guide for the client. So this is the client guide, and here are the documents. These are the source documents that the ATO have listed here. Help documents, note assessments, things like that. But in my opinion, you should be asking and being specific in your email to say, I want these documents, note assessment, BAS, things like that, that you can actually get information and check against ATO data, e.g., what do you call it, health, public health documents, things like that. Hopefully that helps, Matthew. With these note takers had enough. Looks like overkill. Yep, you can ask them that too, Chris. That's your call. Again, a lot of firms do it online. The reason why I do this is because I get the admin team to do it before I meet with the client. So technically, if you're going to meet with the client, you're going to ask the ID in person. You can't onboard them. You can't add them to the portal. You can't have your XPM ready to go, and you can't get started on stuff. So my admin team have taken care of all that. So by the time I'm meeting with the client, I'm talking about business. I'm not saying, where's your ID, what's your TFN, what's your bank details, let me check that against the ATO portal, and doing all those aspects. Hopefully that helps on the why, Chris. So yeah, could be quicker and easier to do in person. It's not for everyone. Is there any other questions? We'll finish up there. I'll stop the recording. Thanks everyone for attending. Stick on and ask some questions off the recording if you wish as well. That is fine. Thanks.